So welcome to the Summit and Salute Bootcamp, and we're gonna rock the Summit and Salute with this information. I want to introduce. We're gonna introduce ourselves. I know you guys are on mute, but if you have questions, just let me know as we go. So you can either unmute yourself, or in at the bottom of your screen, there's a black bar. At the top, there's a spot that says chat. So you can just throw something in the chat window if you have questions as we go. So I want to introduce ourselves. I'm Liz Whitehead. I am the co-mastermind at Diversity Masterminds. I've been working in the space since 2002. I worked for WBENC, actually in the regional affiliates. I worked for WPEO New York, then I ran the DC office, then I worked for WeConnect International, which certifies international businesses. And I started my own company because I realized there were just some gaps in what people needed to be successful in order to make some money from this, from their certification and get bigger clients. And so I started my own company to offer one-on-one consulting. And then I linked up with Heather, and we started Diversity Masterminds. Heather, do you want to introduce yourself?
Well, so a lot of you know me through Certify My Company, whether either we facilitated your certification or reviewed your certification. And so throughout the last 11 years of facilitating these thousands of certifications, the number one complaint we always received was, I got nothing out of my certification, which I felt very frustrated on behalf of our clients, because I know and I've seen for myself the power that the certification can have. And so I dreamt up years ago some kind of course of some sort that would teach certified suppliers how to use their certification. And I had a good 70% of the knowledge I needed, but I needed that other 30%. So when I was kissing some frogs, I was lucky enough to find my princess, Liz. And so I knew she had that other 30% plus a whole lot more of expertise. And so last year, the dream finally came to fruition, and we have launched Diversity Masterminds and had some amazing results for our suppliers, with our clients, however you want to put it. But people are super excited to when they leave, because so many people are trying to go it alone for so long and just realize that it is a maze that is difficult to navigate on your own.
Thank you. That was a really nice introduction. Thanks, Heather. So I want to jump right in, because we could talk about this for a long time. But I also want to let you know that WBENC has its own webinar, which is going on at the same time as now. But I want to let you know that you guys we will cover a lot of the things that are in that webinar, because I actually went to that already, plus more. So you made the right choice. And again, any questions you have going forward, just let us know. So the key to showing up at these events, I know Claudia mentioned this was her first Summit and Salute. It might be the same for some of you guys as well, but that's okay, because there actually hasn't been a Summit and Salute like this before. There have been meet and greets, and we'll get into what those are, but they haven't actually done it in this format. So it's going to be new to everyone. But with all the events, with any event that you go to, whether it's the Summit and Salute now, then a national conference, whether you go to a local event or an event for a different organization, the keys are going to be the same. And the first one is, which you are doing right now, is preparing. You want to make sure you know the schedule and all of that, and we'll go through that with the Summit and Salute. But you also want to know more broadly what you want to get out of the certification itself. What can you expect, and what you can expect. And one of the things I recommend for that is developing relationships with your local organizations. Now, if you know your local organization, your RPO or regional partner organization, is the organization that actually processed your certification, sent a site visitor out to see you before you got certified. And that's the organization that you want to connect with, because going forward, all of the events and opportunities that sort of filter down through the network, a lot of those come through your regional partner organization. serving in leadership capacities and things like that. And not only that, a lot of times, if there are opportunities, corporations will reach out to those local organizations to see if they have actual recommendations. So they can go to WBENC link where you filled out your application and all of that. But they can also go to the regional partner organizations. And as the former head of one, I will tell you that happened a lot. So having them know you and being top of mind is really important. The second thing is you want to get to know your target market. So when you're going there, you can be looking at Fortune 500 companies and think, I could do business with any of these companies. And while that may be true, you really want to narrow it down to companies that are in a particular industry, whether that's an industry that you've worked for in the past, that you have past performance with, or it's one you're breaking into. I always say go narrow to get broad, because if you go and say, I'm a full service communications company, I'm a full service everything to everybody, it makes it really hard to stand out in a network of thousands and thousands of women business owners. So be really specific about that target market. And then make an event playbook. So we're going to take you through what a playbook can look like, what ours looks like, and how it helps structure the follow-up for this. So your local organization, you know who that person is, they came out to do your site visit. One of the great things about the conference this year, I'm actually going to stop sharing and show you my screen so we can get into the schedule a little bit. Because this year at the forum event, you're actually going to have an opportunity to meet different RPOs. So if for some reason you haven't met your RPO yet, you can go, if you're going to the, what? Someone had a question? Okay, no. If you haven't met your RPO yet, at 8 o'clock on Monday, there's a Women's Enterprise Forum session. And the schedule for that is that there's going to be, at the very beginning, a meet your RPO situation. So it'll be from like 8 to 8:45. You'll have an opportunity to sit at the table, hear what their goals are. And it's a great way if you haven't met them yet, or if you live geographically far from where that they're located. Like Heather, for example, is at WBENC West. She's in Nevada. Pamela is in Arizona. So it's not like they're right next door and can get coffee, so that's a really good time. I also recommend, if you have a great relationship with your RPO, to spend that time actually going to a neighboring partner organization, because you might want to go to those events and see what they're doing. So for example, I'm in DC. WPEO covers DC and New York, but in the middle is WBENC East, and they cover Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Southern New Jersey. So I'm actually going to go to that RPO to see what they've got going on. So that is Monday. I have a question. Excuse me, what is an RPO? Great question. Your RPO is your regional partner organization. So they're the organization that actually conducted your certification. WBENC is the national organization. There are 14 regional partner organizations, or RPOs. So they're where a lot of your opportunities to shine in the WBENC network are going to come from. For example, I don't want to get too nitty-gritty into the Women's Enterprise Forum and what that is. I just want you to know that that's open to everybody. There are some people at that forum that actually serve in a leadership capacity, and the way that they got to that leadership capacity was through their RPO. So if you had a question about serving on the forum or getting that leadership opportunity, this breakfast at the Summit and Salute is a good place to start. So that's getting to know your regional partner organization. The next step is actually getting to know your target market. So you need to know who's your target market, how do you find them, how do you know what they're looking for, right? Like you could say, well, I want to do business with Target, but do they want to do business with me, and how do I find that out? How committed are they? And I use that as a proxy for, are they committed to supplier diversity, and is supplier diversity a way in? So you might have a company that's like, okay, they're on WBENC's list of corporate members, I want to do business with them, but are they actually showing up to the events? It doesn't mean you can't do business with them if they don't, but supplier diversity might not be your best way in. And then you want to know, where and when can I meet them going forward? So if you meet one of these people at just at this event, that's great. But you need to have that follow-up. We've heard it takes an average of 7 contacts to actually do business. It's probably even more now because people are so inundated with content from social media and things like that. And another woman who's been successful in the space told me it takes 30 contacts with people to actually make it work. So it's somewhere in between 7 and 30. And to do that, you're not going to be able to go to 30 of these conferences a year because there's not one. There's not 30. So how else are you going to have those touch points? In terms of who is your target market, I want to take you over to your resources for figuring that out. So if you're thinking, okay, well, I think I have a good idea of who they are, how do I know if they're going to be at the Summit and Salute? So one thing I recommend for everybody, again, whether you're going to the Summit and Salute or not, is to go to WBENC link and look at the sponsors. So I'm going to show you how to do that. You want to go over here. I'm going to start a new. WBENC link is where you filled out your application for certification. You're going to go here and log in. Okay. And when you log in, you're going to see on the side here, you can search and see members. And here you can search for individual members, or you can export the list of corporate members right here. And you'll get a CSV or an Excel sheet. Now, you do not want to send an email to all of these people saying that you're going to the Summit and Salute. One, it won't work. And two, it'll be annoying to them. But if you have if you have your targets, you can start to see, like if I look at Accenture here, you can see, okay, this is the company I want to do business with. They might have their website or where their supplier diversity registration portal is. And they'll have the contact information and where they participate. So I can see I'm in DC. I can see that Accenture participates in DC, but they also participate in the Pacific and in the Greater Women's Business Council in Georgia and the Carolinas. So that's one way to do it. You can look at that and say, okay, make your target market in general and then see who's going to be there. And I recommend that as helpful for going long term. So if you're like, well, okay, great, I have my target market together. How do I know who's going to be at the Summit and Salute? You can go over to the Summit website, which is summit.webank.org, and go over to sponsors. That gives you an idea if they've paid money to be there, that they will be there. So you can look through and see the different companies that are attending. And that's a good start. WBENC is also going to send out a week before the conference a list of all the companies participating in the meet and greets. So you'll have an opportunity to see, okay, who's participating and what, who's going to be there. And let's say you have a list of 5 or 10 targets. I don't recommend having more than that because it's hard to keep up with them and do those 30 touch points. But if you have that list, then you can see, okay, these are my top 10. These are the ones I'm going to try to go to. You'll actually have an opportunity to talk to 7 corporations. There'll be 7 rounds at the meet and greets. And again, we're going to get into that in a second. But the first step before you even start looking at that is thinking, who is my target market and how do I find them? So one of the, can I find them at the Summit and Salute? This is also where your RPO is going to come in handy, right? You're making relationships with your RPO so they can tell you, oh, we're actually going to have an event with this corporation later on in the year. They're sponsoring something else, or they're very active in our RPO, or you probably won't get a chance to talk to them there. So it's even more important that you meet them at the national events. So I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint and talk about that. So who is your target market? How do you find them? We talked a little bit about that. How do you know what they're looking for? I think this is the trickiest part because there's not like a list I can send you to or a website. This is where you actually have to spend time getting to know them and knowing what they have going on. One way to do that too, Heather and I have seen a bunch of stuff on LinkedIn where where companies, one company in particular, Nestle, for example, has been posting, this is what I'm looking for. So for example, she posted, we are having a meet and greet at Nestle, and these are the industries we're looking for. If you couldn't make that meet and greet, or you didn't have a chance to apply for that, the Summit and Salute might be a good way to reach out to her to say, I know you were looking for this, and I provide this service. But most of them don't have that kind of information. So you really just have to get to know them and build those relationships. That's also one of the questions you can ask when you do your pitch at the meet and greets. So how committed are they? This is another question where, again, you kind of have to feel it out. Are they going to the programs? Do the supplier diversity people show up? And that's going to tell you how committed they are, and is supplier diversity a good way in? And then when and where. This is when you want to get your calendar for the whole year together, not just the Summit and Salute, but where are they going to be after this? And that'll help you establish, okay, maybe my target market, maybe only half of them are going to be at the Summit and Salute. So what are some other events and things I have to go to? Okay, now we're going to find out what's available online. So know the format of the event and look at the sponsors. Let's take a quick look at the website, and we're going to go through the actual event step by step, so you can see what's there and what does that mean for you. Like, what do you have to go to, and where do you have downtime? So this is the schedule. It's just on the WBENC website under schedule. You'll see that the event starts Monday, March 16th. If you're not going to come in time for this, that's fine. But you should know what's going on. If you are coming in Sunday night, and if you have flexibility there, I do recommend it, because to attend the Women's Enterprise Forum session. That's where I mentioned the RPOs are going to be having breakfast, but also there's going to be other WBEs there that you can have a chance to meet. After that, there's the Summit and Salute orientation. If it's your first time, you can go to that. That's where you'll hear a lot of the logistics information, where to find maps. They'll go through the app. You'll receive an email about the WBENC app, the Summit and Salute app, which we highly recommend you download, because that's a good way of connecting with people on site. They'll go through a lot of that information. And then there's the Women of Color program and the Next Gen meeting. If you fall into any of those categories, Women of Color program is actually open to everybody, but it's geared toward women of color. The Next Gen meeting is for entrepreneurs from 26 to 40. And then there's receptions for those various events. So that's your Monday. If you think about it, like, even let's say you're going to the forum, the Summit and Salute, and one of these meetings, you still have some downtime between 11 and 2. So what does that mean for you? That means if you have a target that is going to be at the Summit and Salute, you've seen that they're a sponsor, then you can say, hey, do you have time in there to meet up? One caveat to that, though, is that's also when the board of directors meetings are. So a lot of the corporations who are going to be there might be serving on the board. So I think it's a better time where the WBEs are going to be in there Monday morning for this the forum event. For the ones that are there, that's where, if you have WBE partners or clients, or just WBs that you've been wanting to meet, that's a good time to get together with them. Bring them out to lunch. There's no lunch provided that day. Ask them out to lunch, and that's where you can start to make those connections. So that's Monday. On Tuesday, this is when the meet and greet is that I've been talking so much about, and we're going to get into that. This is really the main event. In years past, the Summit and Salute has had matchmakers at this, which is a pre-scheduled meeting in advance, so you'd know, oh, you're going to meet with ExxonMobil and Accenture and Capital One, and you have those meetings because they looked at your profile and want to meet with you. At the Summit and Salute, they're not having that. They're having a meet and greet with, I think, probably about 100 companies will be participating. You'll have an opportunity to meet in 20-minute increments with 7 of those companies. And what you have to have prepared for that meet and greet is a 90-second pitch on your company. So you might think, okay, I know pretty much my sales pitch or what I'm doing. You really want this to be sharp and polished. They're going to be timing it. And the people that do the best job at these pitches, as judged by the corporations, are actually going to be selected to be part of the WBENC pitch competition. So when people get there, it's not going to be just like, oh, hi, my name is this. This is what I do. We do it in these industries. They really want to hear something like, this is my company. We solve this problem for this target market, and this is the value that we bring. And it's 90 seconds and has to be really tight. Heather, you were smiling. Do you have anything to add to that piece of it?
No, I'm still so interested to see how it's going to go this year, because it's a brand new way they're rolling it out. So I'm just so interested to see how it works this year.
Yeah, I know. Me too. Me too. It'll end because there's not matchmakers this year. You know, in previous years, they've done the meet and greets. And, you know, you can be fairly sure you might not get to meet with, you know, 7 out of 7 of your top picks, but usually you can meet with most of them and you'd have time. Since there's no matchmakers, everybody's going to be doing this. Everybody's going to be trying to get into the pitch competition. So it'll be pretty interesting. Does anybody have any questions about the meet and greet? You can put it in the chat window or just unmute yourself. This is one of the things we had a ton of questions when we did our full diversity masterminds cohort. We had a lot of questions about the meet and greet. And actually, if anyone thinks they need help, we can connect you with one of our cohort attendees who's a master of pitching. She actually coaches people on how to do their pitch. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. Okay, I see a question coming in. Oh, where'd it go? Here we go. All good, great information. Okay, thank you. Excellent. I like that feedback. Okay, so after the meet and greet, this is when you have all your WBENC, your business lab workshops. So where at a typical conference you'd have workshops, they call this the WBENC lab. And these are the different, you know, you can see the different topics they have there. So you can pick which topic you want to go to. They're pretty short. And you can start to see, okay, there's again, other opportunities to meet your RPOs. They're going to be talking about that. And then just general business information. These are times you'll see there's not, except for the business lab, there's not much else going on at these times. This is another opportunity for downtime. So if you want to meet with someone during the conference or you want to have a longer conversation, if you're not going to one of these business labs, this is your opportunity, because most of the corporations probably won't be attending all of the business lab. You mentioned, speaking of the main topics, things they want to hear. Can you repeat? Oh, okay. So in terms of the meet and greet, like what are the corporations looking for and what do they want to hear? The only way you can really know that is by building relationships with them. There's no, sometimes at this event, actually last year at this event, WBENC put out a guide of like, these are the companies and this is what they're looking for, but they haven't indicated that they're going to do that this year. And I think that they had that because the companies were doing matchmakers and told them what they were looking for so they could get matched up. So I'm not sure they have that information this year. In terms of what should you present in your pitch, I did get from them from WBENC what they're actually judging you on. And because it's WBENC pitch, the number one thing is they're judging on your innovation, right? They want to see something new. So even if you do something like, you know, I have a client that does staffing. She's like, it's just people, it's just staffing. There's nothing innovative about it. If you can find a way like, oh, well, we add a little module on how to make the decision process better, or we've added this thing to it. Keep in mind, I mean, obviously there's only going to be 80 companies. There's going to be thousands of companies going. Only 80 companies are going to be picked to be in the pitch competition. The companies that won in the past 2 times I've been to, one manufactured safe workwear for women. Another one did boozy ice cream. So it's pretty hard to compete with boozy ice cream. But even if you just get picked for the first round, it's tremendous visibility in front of the corporations. So the panel that's going to be judging you is corporate. And Heather, do you want to talk about that since you actually got to the second round of the last pitch competition?
Yeah, so the first round was, I think 180 people. The second round was 20 people, and the final round was for 4 people that pitched. So the first round, you were in front of a panel of judges, and then about, let's say, a couple hundred people in the audience. It kind of rotated because it did go over quite a few hours. But I happened to be in the audience hearing a lot of the corporations talking, saying, oh, we should talk to that person. Oh, we should talk to that person. Oh, that's a great idea. I really like that offering, which they may or may not have actually met that person otherwise. It's just because that person was on the pitch. And a lot of those people didn't make it to the second round, but they still had unbelievable exposure. The second round, they did it at the national conference over lunch. So there was probably between any given time, like 300 and 1,000 people in the room coming in and out during the lunch. And again, it's just a really great exposure to be in front of all those people. Even though I didn't move on to the final, I still had a lot of people coming up to us afterwards asking about it, just because I may have not reached out to them or met them in person or thought they were someone I wanted to talk to. Because I was in front of them, I was able to get that extra exposure.
Yep. Awesome. And when looking at like what WBENC says about what they're going to provide, they said we're not going to provide a list of needs, but the corporations will have 1 to 2 minutes at the beginning to tell you about what they're looking for. It's not going to help you prepare your pitch. You still have to do your market research in advance, but at least you'll have a sense of, for afterwards and for follow-up, is this a good way to go? Okay. So the other thing is they want this to be an existing product. So they don't necessarily want it to be, and it's not an idea that you have. It's something that you're already implementing in your business. And then you have to be a good presenter. You have to stay in the time and, do a compelling pitch. So it's a lot to think about. Heather and I are both practicing our pitches, and I recommend practicing. Try not to have it written down. That's my tip for the pitches. And then again, so the lunch is provided the second day. There's the WBENC pitch first round. So if you do get selected, they're going to let you know like pretty soon. We're going to do the meet and greets, and then you're going to know by 2:30 if you're selected for the WBENC pitch, and then you'll have to do it again. If you are not selected for the WBENC pitch, you can definitely go to that, or here again, there's the WBENC Business Lab. So all of these things. Again, there's a lot of great stuff here, a lot of great things. And when you click on this, it'll tell you a little bit more about the presenter and whether or not you want to go to that. I also think, that because they're short and it's 2.5 hours, maybe you go to a couple of those, and then again, you have that sort of downtime. For example, I'm actually meeting with PepsiCo, wanted to introduce me to somebody, one of their WBE suppliers, or someone who is a potential supplier. And she's actually in Nashville. So I'm actually going to her company in the afternoon. I'm going to her office to talk to them. So it's okay. And, Pepsi's not mad at me for doing that. They wanted me to do that. So it's okay to schedule some downtime for yourself, or, have that coffee, or continue that conversation that you had in line to the bathroom to see if that's a fit for somebody. And then there's the welcome reception featuring the women-owned pop-up shop. So if anyone on the call has a product, the pop-up shops are a great way to get it out there. It's obviously too late for the Summit and Salute, but they'll be doing this again at the national conference. And they may do something like this again at your RPO. And that's where there'll be a reception. It's just time to mingle and chat. And that's where, and we'll also get to showcase these women-owned products. And you can do a little shopping. Heather, you always have good advice for how to handle the receptions. How do you recommend doing that?
Be yourself. Yeah, just use your personality, and don't, if you're there with a couple people, I would say separate. It's very easy to, especially in new situations, right, to kind of go to people that you already know. I would say just be sure to talk. It's very loud in these receptions. So you're not going to have very intense conversations because it's just too loud during the event. So I would say it's a good time to be like, oh, I saw your face. I'm Heather. It's so nice to meet you. I can't wait to talk to you outside of this really loud event. Like, I'm going to go to the bar later, or how much longer are you going to be here? Because I find myself, I end up sounding like Liz by like day 2 with that raspy voice that she has now, because you're like yelling so loud over the music.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not a time to do your sales pitch. It's time to get to know people. So when we talked about, oh, what are those things that they're looking for? This is the start of the building the business relationship. So, oh, where are you located? How far did you travel to get here? You know, things like that, where it's like, oh, you're in my RPO. Are you going to the event that I just heard about yesterday at this? You know, those kinds of things. And that can be your way into a conversation. But overall, you're really trying to get to know these people so they can remember what they do and be your advocate. Chances are, well, probably no one is going to walk out of this with a contract or even an upcoming RFP for your good or service. You're building relationships with them so they can be an advocate for you down the road. Okay. And Wednesday. So here's the WBENC pitch semifinals. Again, you'll note there's no breakfast on the calendar. Taking someone out for breakfast at 8 a.m. Can I take you out for breakfast? Can I take you out for coffee? That's some downtime. The conference isn't covering it, so that's a good time to make those meetings. You'll see here's more design lab, WBENC Lab. There's a ton of options. And I feel like they're putting more and more stuff on here every day. So you can see what are the kinds of things you want to go to. There's lunch, and then the keynote sessions. Janice Bryant, they just put these up too. So you can see a little more about what those are about. And then we get the reception. So there's the VIP Top Corps reception, invitation only. Senior executive reception, invitation only. So if you don't have an invitation to those, you're basically free to the general reception. So, and then this is when we actually get to the whole reason we're here. What's the whole purpose behind the Summit and Salute? It's to give awards to the top corporations. So the corporations who have done an extraordinary job in doing business with women business owners like yourselves, and that recognize the WBE stars from each region. So each of the RPOs has nominated a star that is getting national visibility at this level, and we're going to award them too. So you might be thinking, well, like, how do I become a star? It's a great question for your RPO because it's different for each one. And how do I know who the top corps are? That's a great question, because the top corps are going to be are winning an award. They're also typically bringing other people besides just the supplier diversity people, so people from their company, because they're winning an award. And let me actually find the list of top corps, because one of the people in our diversity masterminds cohorts, one of the things we like to say is, like, one of the things you can do is just say congratulations. If you're like, I don't know how to start a conversation with these people, I don't know what to talk about, that it's new. Well, one of the things you can do is just say congratulations on your award, and here is the list. If you go to, I just always search WBENC Top Corps 2019, and you'll come up with that information. So if any of your targets are on there, hey, congratulations on your Top Corp award. Can we have coffee on Wednesday morning? Can I bring you out for breakfast? It's a small thing, but one of our current cohort members was like, yeah, I didn't think it was going to work. And then she did it. And then she had a meeting with not only the supplier diversity person, but one of the people in procurement before the event. So, and another person asked, hey, if you have any room at your table, I'm happy to sit. And they were like, yeah, sure, send me your email address, I'll sign you up. So now she's not only got got to say what her company was all about, but now she's sitting down at this event, it's going to be several hours with the corporation and anyone else who came to celebrate that award. So that's the top corps and the WBEs. So at the dinner, again, it's not, you're not going to have assigned seating. The corporations who are sponsors will all have their tables. Some of them will be totally full and be like, no, we have no room here. And again, it's a good opportunity if you're thinking like, oh, am I going to be able to sit with all the people I'm coming with? Am I be able to sit with my friends from my RPO? It's another good opportunity to split up. Meet people. You're spending a lot of money to go here. You're investing in your company when you go. Make sure you make the most of it and sit at a different table. You might say, oh, can I have a list of where are the tables and where the sponsor's sitting? No, they don't provide that in advance. You just have to work it out. And these rooms are going to be huge. So it's really hard to be targeted then. But if you're having a good conversation with somebody at lunch or after one of the business labs, or again, in line for the ladies' room, saying, hey, can we go sit with you for dinner? And that's another thing that Heather has had. Heather is very good at just making that ask. Can I sit with you?
Yeah.
It works, right?
Just got to ask. The worst that they say is no.
No. Right. But it doesn't hurt to ask. So that's your schedule. I want to go to, okay, so you've done your schedule. You've got it all. How are you going to keep all this straight? This is like a lot of information that we've shared with you already. And you might already be thinking like, I'm kind of overwhelmed by everything I have to do. And how am I going to keep it all straight? Well, we've got a plan for that. And that is your event playbook. I'll put it into slideshow. So, resume slideshow. Okay, there we go. So that's your event playbook. We recommend actually creating a separate playbook just for you that's going to have all the information you need for how to approach the Summit and Salute. You have, right? We have the agenda. What you want to do is put that into your own agenda for what you're planning on attending. Like, okay, I'm going to go to the Women of Color meeting from 2 to 4, and then I'm going to the reception. But then you start to see, okay, now I'm seeing where those downtimes are, where I can actually fit in other meetings. So for example, you could say, I'm going to have breakfast with Fernando. Oops, let me go back. I'm going to have breakfast with Fernando from Microsoft. I have conference booths in here, but there's no booths at this conference, so you don't have to worry about that. Then you're going to go to the meet and greets. Like, which companies do I want to meet with? I want to meet with Starbucks and General Motors and Target, and really write it down there so you have a plan. And that'll help you prepare. You also want to put in this playbook whatever research you can do in advance. So I wouldn't underestimate LinkedIn. I showed you WBENC link and how you can download a list, but you also want to get to know the people behind those companies. So if you're going to think about these companies, okay, who are they? Who are these people? If if this isn't your first event, if you've had conversations with them, put them in there so you're not thinking, oh, I know my salesperson talked to you, but I forget what it's about. You want to be like on your phone texting people back at your office, like, what did they say last time? Have it all together. And not only that, have it ready to go. And then not only that, it'll help you take notes when you have conversations with people going forward. So you want to create the playbook. It can be as detailed or as not detailed as you want, but feel free to get all the information you can in advance before you get there, because it goes really fast. Again, you've made a significant investment to go to this conference. So do the homework, or have someone on your team and your company do the homework so you're ready to go when you get there. It's also really helpful for teams because you can all take your notes, and then you don't have to have like long meetings like I did this and I did this. You can sort of consolidate all those notes. Or if you're going to turn it over to someone else to do the follow-up. Or if you're a business development person on the call and you have to report back to your CEO about what you did. It's all really helpful to have it there. And it's really impressive. It's also impressive to the corporations, right? You did your homework. You have a whole plan in place. So once you're at the event, you've got your plan, you know the schedule, you know who you want to meet with, and you have it all in your handy dandy playbook. You want to follow the plan, but leave room for spontaneity. And what I mean by that is try not to schedule back-to-back calls when you have that downtime. Leave some room for someone to say, oh, hey, we're running to get coffee. Do you want to come with us? can you sit with me for at dinner? Are you going to be at the reception? You don't want everything that you're not, everything with the meet and greets to be something where you've got a call going on at home. We all have to run our businesses and all that, but leave some of that room for spontaneous things to come up. Make connections, and I should probably put in here, make connections, not sales. That's what you're doing. Manage your expectations so that you're like, the more connections I make, the more people know about my company, and the more people I have working on my behalf. They're, being too salesy is going to wear everybody out. But if you're actually making an authentic connection, that's a different thing. Identify different audiences and use different pitches. I think the easiest way to think about this is like you might pitch something differently to WBEs or to corporations. I mentioned before, you want to go really narrow to go broad. So when you're going narrow with the corporations, you might want to think of one specific product or service that you offer. For example, and this doesn't have to do with the WBENC example because she's not certified and she works with families, but she's like, well, I'm a photographer and all this stuff. And when she sent me her information, she had these really cool videos that she does. She like interviews she'll interview your 7-year-old on his birthday party to say, and it comes with this really cute videos. So it's not just pictures, but she does like really capturing a memory. Or she had this one family that just baked cookies together. And she just captured that memory for them in a really innovative way. And I was like, just sell that, And if I were advising her for WBENC, I'd be like, don't worry about like, I can do family photos, I can do weddings, I can do this, I can do that. Focus on the one thing that really separates you. And yeah, you can do that other stuff down the line, but that's going to help these people remember you and be your advocate. So if you're pitching one thing to the corporations and another thing to the WBEs, that's fine. You just kind of need to know what those things are. And then take the notes in your playbook so you're ready to go. All right, the most important part, and then we'll have time for questions, is follow up. This is the thing I think that'll make you stand out more than anything else, is if you do follow up and you do consistent follow up. So the first key to that is scheduling time for it. When you get back from the conference, you will have been away from your company for a while. You'll have been away from your family. You're going to be busy, right? You're like, taking time off, and then I have to come back. I'm going to be behind. Just schedule that time. I'm going to look through my playbook. I'm going to make a note of who's a priority and who isn't, and follow up with them. And that gets to having a system in place. And when I say a system, you don't have to have a fancy CRM, although it's nice if you do, but just have some way to prioritize your connections. Like, this person said they have an RFP coming out in 6 months for my product or service. This person had shoes and I wanted to find out where she got them, right? Different priorities. You still want to do it. The person with shoes could be a better connection for you than anything else, but you want to prioritize them in terms of importance and urgency, and give yourself a deadline for following up. And when I say a deadline, it's like a deadline for when I get back from the conference, right? It could be the person at the meet and greet table could be like, don't even get in touch with me for the next 6 months. Okay, but put that on your calendar. Have that deadline. I am going to follow up in 6 months. They will appreciate you remembering that and following directions. Evaluate whether or not you met your goals. So is this a conference that's good for you? Did it work out well for you? Did you like the format? Again, the format could change the next year, so keep an eye on that. And then with your playbook, that playbook can then become a living, breathing document that you use for future events, where you're like, oh, I thought this person was going to be really good, but they're sort of moving down the priority list. But now I want to add in some research about these other people that I had good conversations with. Heather, do you have anything to add to that stuff to follow up?
No, that's all perfect. Yeah, because you think you're going to remember, but we never do.
Mm-mm. I got a testimonial from one of our diversity masterminds cohort yesterday, and she was giving me some good feedback about what went well and also like some things to improve. And I wrote it all down. And today we had a call today, our last one. And I was like, did I write down what she said? Not only did I not remember what she said, I didn't remember if I had written it down. I had, luckily. I recorded the testimonial, but also that feedback is really important. Anyway, so those are the things where you want to really stay on top of it. Does anyone have any questions? If you don't have questions, okay, go ahead. I see you guys unmuting.
Hey, it's Claudia. So, for us newbies, what would you say is the biggest difference between this conference and the national conference?
Oh, that's a great
It's a
question.
great question. Yeah.
I mean, I think what the biggest difference is there's no expo. So at the national conference, the corporations and some WBE sponsors have booths where you can actually, they're kind of stationary, have kind of a captive audience where you can go to them and have that 90-second conversation, more of a dialogue. Here, there's not that. At the national conference, there will be matchmakers. So it's actually a different level of prep because you want to have your profile in order so corporations can find you and say, yeah, I want to meet with that person. So when you start getting emails about the national conference, you want to sign up by the early bird registration date because it's those people that are eligible to even be chosen for those one-on-one conversations. But aside from that, and then the meet and greets will not be at the national conference. So if you really love the meet and greets and that format, which I do, I think they're great. They're not going to be at the national conference. So they're only at the Summit and Salute.
Okay, great. I have one other question. This one's probably a little trickier because I know all of us are different size organizations, but in terms of a decision to go alone or versus bring other members from my team, if I bring some other people, they can go to pretty much all the same events I can, right? We can kind of divide and conquer, or?
Yes, they absolutely can. The only thing they can't do is they will not be able to pitch in the regional pitch conversation competition. They can participate in the meet and greets, absolutely, but it has to be the women business owner who pitches. So if you're like, I got someone that does a great pitch, that's great, but you're going to have to do it on stage.
Okay, no problem. Okay.
Yeah. I also say, like, if you're thinking to yourself, you can only bring a salesperson to either this one or national. The national is a little bit of a bigger event. So if you're trying to figure out like which way to utilize your resources best over the next few conferences, this is a little bit more of an intimate conference. There's not the trade fair, as Liz said. It's not as many breakout sessions like there is at national. So if you're saying like, I can only bring sales reps to one conference, I'm not saying you're saying that, but if you are wondering, then the national conference would probably be the better place to put that additional resources into.
Okay, that's very helpful. Appreciate it.
Yeah, good point. So so there's a lot here we didn't cover in terms of preparing for actually using your certification. So if it's your first time at the Summit and Salute, that's great. If you haven't been to, if you're newly certified, we actually offer a full course, which is not just, okay, how to attend this event, although this is basically an excerpt of one of those modules, but really overall, how do I use my certification? And so that's at diversitymasterminds.com. We have open cohorts in March and April up through September. So if you are thinking, I'd like more help on how to really utilize my RPO, or really doing this market research on the corporations. How do I do that beyond the events? Diversity Masterminds will help you with that. Or if you get back from the Summit and Salute and realize, I actually need a lot of help with this, you'll feel free to get in touch, because sometimes you have to go first and feel it out to see where you need your help. Any other questions? If not, I have one more thing. One thing we didn't mention is the supplier registration portals. So if you have not, once you get your target market together, your target corporations, they will all have supplier registration portals where they keep a list of the different companies they might want to do business with. It's good to register in there in advance if you can, for a couple of reasons. One, it's going to be the first question they ask you as follows. Did you register in our portal? So you want to be able to say yes and move on to the next thing. But it's also okay if you don't have time to do that and they ask you to do it, and then follow up with them and say, I registered in the portal like you asked me to. I follow directions. Has anyone ever gotten business strictly from the portal with no outside relationship? Not that I know of, but you have to be in there and it gives the corporations an idea of what you do. I also think it helps them when they go back and have to advocate for you, that they can say that you're in that portal. So that's important. Any other questions? Well, if we don't have anything else, then I feel like we can wrap up. I appreciate everyone's time today. I hope you all rock the Summit and Salute. If you have questions, here you have our email addresses. I'm Liz@diversitymasterminds.com. Heather's Heather@diversitymasterminds.com. And yeah, and we would love to chat with you. Oh yeah, everyone said thank you. That's great. I'm glad you found it helpful, and hope to see you again on Diversity Masterminds.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.